It was beneath the gray skies of June 1, 2022, in which I logged onto my favorite Discord server, Ram Ranch Cowboy Fun. I scanned the hallowed halls of General Maine, looking for traces of my favorite user, Vilmer the Raw Egg Drinker number 1935. However, something immediately rubbed me the wrong way about the atmosphere of the server that day. There was a distinct lack of deranged rants about sexually assaulting lesbians, no conversation about eating raw meat, and most concerning of all, a normal number of chromosomes in chat. Asking about Vilmer's whereabouts, the denizens of the server helped me by threatening to perform various acts of mutilation upon my body, including but not limited to ritualistic castration and sounding with sharp objects. Perturbed by this, I was relieved to finally get a helpful answer. A user by the name of Jacob the Gamer sent me a random set of coordinates in a cornfield in Iowa, stating that it would help me find Vilmer. Living in the lovely metropolis of Gary, Indiana, I set out across the Chicago metropolitan area and onwards towards Dubuque, Iowa. After an uneventful journey excluding unspeakable sights within a gas station bathroom involving an elderly Chinese man, a tortoise, and a couple of razor blades, I arrived in Dubuque. Realizing there was actually fucking nothing in Dubuque, I contemplated drowning myself in the Mississippi River but decided to continue onwards. 9 hours later, I was at the coordinate site. A vacant barn house laid before me, long untouched by anyone since perhaps the 1950s. I entered the farmhouse, only to find absolutely nothing within. All of a sudden I was beaten over the head with a blunt object and fell unconscious immediately. I didn't know it yet, but this would be the beginning of a horrifying discovery. I awoke and I was strapped to a chair in a windowless room, presumably in some kind of cellar. A television set lay before me, which at the time was playing nothing but static. As I became aware of my surroundings, however, the true gravity of the situation dawned on me. A video began playing, depicting a goblin-like entity crouched down in some kind of decrepit storm drain. The entity excitedly announced that it had infiltrated Vilmer's compound and was going to sell the candid film it was about to record to Saudi Arabian businessmen for their own sick viewing purposes. The creature then drank a clear, thick viscous liquid out of a jar and turned invisible, picking up the camera afterwards. The video then cut to the outside of an ordinary-looking suburban home. Text edited onto the screen read Gothenburg, Sweden. The invisible goblin entered through a conspicuously open window, landing on a large pile of dead ducks, which appeared to have been bludgeoned and strangled to death with shoehorns. The goblin proceeded forth down a long, empty hallway, arriving at a barely open door at the end of the hall. The scene within was horrifying in ways no neurotypical mind could ever comprehend. The camera was immediately fogged by the semen vapors emanating from the conspicuously crusty carpet that formed the floor. The goblin wiped off the fog, instantly making me wish he hadn't. There, in the corner of the room, was a human-like creature that sat in a gaming chair. On the creature's monitor, were several pages open at once. One was a screen for a Hearts of Iron 4 game it was evidently modding, one was a YouTube video simply titled Yandere Catgirl ASMR, and the final page open was an indiscernible mixture of lesbian porn and raw meat dietary advice videos. But most disturbing of all, on another monitor positioned to the right of the primary one, was a Discord page open. The tag in the corner read Vilmer the Raw Egg Drinker number 1935. It was him. Vilmer was muttering something underneath his breath about the White Cock Gang and Finnick Geek Germanoid warriors. He was obviously in some sort of psychotic state. Frothing at the mouth and rocking back and forth in his chair, the animalistic glee of Vilmer simultaneously disgusted and fascinated me. It was at that moment that footsteps approached the room. The camera goblin changed its angle to another corner. Vilmer was doing his hourly scan of the channels of Ram Ranch Cowboy Fun, and was about to check his favorite, comb creature swamp. However, just at the moment as he began enjoying a video of a man consuming his own feces, Vilmer's mother stepped in, carrying a sack full of raw livers for him. Evidently disturbed by what was on his screen, she ran out of the room after throwing the liver sack on the ground. Vilmer had a look of utter dejection on his face, but something about his expression seemed like he had been anticipating this for a long time. He withdrew a shoebox from beneath his desk. Opening the shoebox, Vilmer retrieved an ornate wooden shoehorn carved with several esoteric and occult Finnic neo-pagan symbols. Holding it in front of his face and whispering a few words in the Proto-Uralic language, jumped out of the window. The goblin then proceeded to follow Vilmer around the streets of Gothenburg. Vilmer turned to the goblin as if he could sense its presence, with his eyes glowing white, and told it to come with him. Suddenly, Vilmer and the goblin were teleported to the house of famed dietary specialist YouTuber Vegan Gains. Vegan Gains was horrified by Vilmer's sudden appearance, and attempted to overpower the tiny Swedish teenager by throwing a punch at him. Vilmer, using the shoehorn, cut off Vegan Gaines's right hand with a single swing. Screaming on the ground in agony, Vilmer proceeded to kick Vegan Gaines's skull in until it resembled a caved-in watermelon. Vilmer smiled, knowing his martyrdom was complete. As the police sirens blared outside, Vilmer produced a single stalk of celery, which he proceeded to eat happily. Instantly, Vilmer began violently convulsing and seizing on the ground. He was dead within minutes. The tape ended, and I was shocked. Why had I just been shown this? Why did Vilmer kill Vegan Gaines? My questions were answered when the door of the room opened. It was the man himself. No, not Vilmer, the other man himself. Jeffrey Epstein. He spoke to me, telling me that I had completed the initiation and that I was ready for entry into the cabal. He untied me from the chair and guided me into the next room over. Waiting for me there was the crew, consisting of Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, the reanimated corpse of Jimmy Savile, and Bill Clinton. Each shaking my hand, I sat down at my seat at the table. Realizing that above the table was a massive mural of Vilmer being crucified, these gentlemen were like-minded fellows to me. Vilmer's sacrifice has forever changed my life.